The first day that this happened, it could have been a day that we had exposure to the hydrogen fluoride, because there's a lot of people that have strange rashes that look like chemical burns.
Right.
And so that is when it could have spread out before the EPA even came in on the second day to do the testing.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hi, I'm Tina-Desiree Berg reporting for Status Coup News. We are up in the Northern Bay Area outside of Monterey by the Moss Landing fire. This is the battery plant that caught fire last week and burned for almost 5 days, I suppose. So this is Jody Parker. Jody, you were here in Marina, which is just right, what, 9 miles, 8 miles south of the plant?
8.2 miles, I think, to the Moss Landing.
Okay, so 8.2 miles south of the plant. Walk us through how you experienced that. You said you were outside doing some yard work.
Yeah, so Thursday, the day the fire started, I was mostly inside the house, and then I had gone out on Friday, and then I was told by somebody else, which I didn't know at the time, that that was when they had an explosion. There was an additional explosion there at the plant. And so I went outside, and then I started trying to do a few things outside, and then I just immediately, like, my chest started hurting. I got really congested. It was hard to breathe, and it was just like within a few minutes of being outside. And then I came back inside. I stayed out there a little bit, maybe like 20 minutes or so. And then when I came back inside, I started to get very lethargic.
So let me ask you this. Initially, when you were outside, you didn't even know that this had happened.
No.
No. So, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I thought, well, that's weird. I just, had gone outside, and then all of a sudden I'm like starting to feel sick, and I was like, that's really weird. And then I came inside, started cleaning. I was having, a lot of difficulty continuing to clean, and I just felt so exhausted. Then I just kind of gave up on trying to clean, and I didn't attribute at that time the connection between the fire and what I was feeling. And then I later had heard about the EPA coming in and telling us that the air quality was fine. And so my dad, who I've been asking him questions and posting them to the community, I asked him, I said, it just seems really strange to me that, they had 100,000 lithium batteries catch on fire, and it's billowing smoke. I think this was the third day it was happening, and it's billowing smoke nonstop for days. And they're just telling us that everything's fine. And then he immediately was concerned, and he said, you should really get out of that area. And that's when I first heard about hydrogen fluoride. And that's a really scary chemical that this plant can release. And my dad told me that you can't even wear PPE because it'll eat through it, and then it eats glass and buildings. And he was just totally that is just one of the worst, things that could happen, is if you get exposed to that. And he was talking to me about the lithium as well. And so his suggestion was for me to leave out of town. So I did leave out of town for a few days, and I'd been having these symptoms for several days. The first day I got out of town, and you get used, it's almost like I got even acclimated to the fact that the air is not very good, because I drove past the plant on my way out, and the smell of metal was just so intense. It was just right after the fire. It just was super intense. And then as soon as I got out of the area, it was I couldn't believe how fresh the air was, the difference. I was kind of blown away, all of my congestion, all of my stuff started clearing up. I mean, as soon as I left the area. And then by the second day, it was I had no symptoms at all. I was completely fine. And I was I feel amazing, And so I stayed out there as long as I could financially. And then, you have to come home sometime. So when I came back, and it was the first day I felt so, I didn't notice anything. And then it was the second day again, I started having symptoms, and I started not feeling good again with the congestion. And then, and I'd had a bloody nose during the time that I wasn't feeling well. I've had severe headaches on and off. And then I know we were supposed to meet yesterday, but I was not feeling well it was most of the day. I started feeling really dizzy, and I started getting a headache again. And it's the type of headache that you take Tylenol and you take things for it and it just doesn't go away. Just a weird kind of severe headache. And I just almost never get headaches. And it was really severe. So I've just been continuing to kind of have very unpleasant symptoms since I stepped outside that day. So
yeah. So now you mentioned to me that your father has some sort of background. He used to live here, but he moved away. But he worked on some sort of
so he's
chemistry job or something.
Yeah, so he's worked on devices that they've sent up in different spacecraft, and he's worked on like complicated, like a medical shunts and stuff, and he's kind of done all of the programming and all of the things to put that together. So he's just like, he would do these complicated math problems for fun, that I would I would never do that, but
he's a math nerd.
Yeah, and
as most chemists are. But so he has an understanding of chemistry. So when you were talking with your dad, I think you were able to share some information he was giving you with the community on the Facebook page.
Yeah, I've been sharing them kind of because people weren't sure what to do to even like try to decontaminate their home. And they were worried about that. And so he was giving people advice on what to do. Like his best advice was to leave the area if possible. But he gave me advice for how people can try to clean out their homes and setting up different fans and leaving everything running and leaving for 2 hours. So he was giving a lot of advice to the community when we didn't have any advice or any health officials or anyone helping us out. And I had just asked him a question recently about, I said, they said there's no way to put out these fires. Is that true? There's no chemical, like there's nothing really. And he mentioned something about argon or something, which is really expensive.
Argon? Okay.
Yeah, but he said, basically, it's not safe for the firefighters to go in there and put out the fire. And the equipment that they have is not going to put this type of fire out with the lithium and the hydrogen fluoride burning. And he said it's not even safe for somebody to fly over the plant, but her air is fine, right? But it's not safe for anybody to even fly over the plant because of the, potential for the hydrogen fluoride. So he said the only thing that you can do is that you have to prevent it from happening. And he said one of the ways to prevent it from happening is building like concrete in between the batteries so that it's not like a
chain reaction,
huge thing and that you have to isolate them. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. And he knows that. So why were they trying to save space? Like, why didn't they isolate the batteries so that they all did it, 100,000 of them didn't all catch on fire like this? And so that really makes you think about, why something like that wasn't done to make this safer for us as well,
Right. And I think Vistra must have known that was the case. I think, originally one of the things that Supervisor Church said was at that moment in time, back when they built that plan, that was sort of what they were doing back then. And then 4 years later, they switched to this other thing where they're like separating it like you're talking about. But then the question becomes, well, why didn't they go back and retrofit that plant and make it more safe, knowing that it could have this sort of, chain reaction with all the batteries stacked like that?
That's 100% right. And then he even mentioned that we have to worry about asbestos because of the
probably because it's an old building.
Old. Yeah, he said that in an interview that we have to worry about asbestos because the pipes and things were built a long time ago.
Yeah, asbestos and lead even. Yeah, it's older buildings here have a lot of asbestos in the ceiling tiles, whatnot. Also, I think they used to put it in the drywall compound or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, a lot of the old buildings do have asbestos. It catches on fire. It becomes part of the toxic chemicals. Does your dad have thoughts now about how to sort of remediate the situation? I know there's concern, obviously, in the broader community about the heavy metals getting into the soil. We got test results today for the latest run that the county did in these 8 locations. And there's definitely some heavy metal present in the soil. At 2 of them, it's higher than others. And the 2 obviously are close to the Moss Landing facility. But I don't know what the baseline is for that. How, is it a dangerous level? Is it going to increase? It feels like there's so many unknowns out there and people aren't getting a lot of information. And I don't think the politicians or the county, I don't think they are getting information either. It's, a whole new world for them as well. But your dad might have some thoughts on that. Has he shared any with you?
I just saw that the report was posted like a few minutes ago. So, but I was, thinking that I need to send that to him. But when they were saying not to test, that they didn't want to check the soil, that they didn't need to, I asked him about that.
And wait, what? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Originally they said that?
Oh, yeah. They have it making a statement because they said They said that they didn't know what to look for with the chemicals and that
Oh
they
my
weren't going to
gosh.
test the soil. And so it was almost like a stalling thing. And I'm like, are they waiting till it rains so that there's less of this to kind of,
Yeah.
show? But they had absolutely no intention. And I think they didn't. And it was like 5 days later or something, I think, is the university came down.
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's the San Jose University
Oh,
came
San
down.
Jose.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they did, but everybody was outraged. And my dad, the first thing he said was they need to test the soil. And he was explaining to me about, he was saying you shouldn't eat the produce here for the next 2 years unless if the area gets really heavy rains, you could maybe consider eating the produce again here in 2 years.
Wow.
Like that's what he told me. And I said, do these, chemicals get into the plants? Like, will it affect the produce? And he said that they do. He said they absolutely will get into the plants and the plants will absorb this. And then you think about animals or, and the leftover produce that they're going to be feeding the animals
Right.
here. I mean, it's terrifying. But his first reaction to me was, they know what to look for. He thought that, I guess,
What did
kind
they
of
say? Oh, okay.
a little, not too bright that they were saying they didn't know what to look for. And he was saying they absolutely need to test the soil.
That the county, the EPA? I didn't know
It was it was the Monterey County Health Department. They had an official on there. It's on like KSPW, and,
Okay.
and she's I think Jordan's even shown clips of her
Okay.
saying that they have no intention of testing the soil and they don't need to. And it's like, and then you find hundreds and thousands times more toxic
Yeah.
amounts of heavy metals in the soil, and they didn't even want to check it, and
Yeah, now that they have, it's come out that there is. I mean, you could see the levels in those one, and you can see that it increased, like the initial baseline, or not the baseline, I should say, the first. They have it broken out. Have you seen how they did this day
Yeah,
one day? Okay,
yeah.
so they had the times on there, like so this day 2:48 ND, so that means nothing detected. But then you get to the day after. So I don't know who was taking those samples then. How did they?
Oh, it's the community, because the
Well,
community.
no, this is separate. The community one too has come out today too, but this is the stuff on the county website. So I'm really confused.
Yeah,
I'm very confused about this now.
After everybody was outraged because they had no plan to test the soil, they suddenly, and then we started doing our own samples, and the county said, "Oh, we're going to check the soil now." So it was after about a 5-day period.
So that first reading was 5.
Yeah,
or they had something
They hadn't.
previous.
They didn't test the soil, and they said that they didn't need to. And I think it was about 5 or something days later, and then everybody was upset and outraged, like, you need to test the soil. And then the county went in and said, "Oh, okay, well, we'll test the soil now." But at first, that was not their intention. That was not what they were saying.
Okay, so that's even more interesting or confusing to me. So when they finally do start to test the soil, some of it is picking up readings at certain points of the day, and other days is picking up massive readings. Like this to me, which I guess is not so crazy. Like one of the things that Aaron Brockovich talks about is like it depends on some time of day, direction of wind, whether there's been water. Like you can get a toxic reading at one point, and then later on not, and then again, like maybe 2 feet later again. So it's like it feels like just a moving target, and I am not a scientist, so I don't know enough about this to totally grasp all that's happening here. But I mean, we can all see that clearly there's got to be some heavy metal presence because some of the tests do show.
Yeah, the university showed that there was like hundreds of thousands times the normal amount of heavy metals in the soil. And it's been heavily raining, so all of that is going to wash into our oceans and wash into the Bay here.
There's no way about that. There's no way that that's not going to happen. We've had this. So here in California, we have something called the Pineapple Express, where we go from like having drought to Pineapple Express, and then we go to having the colder El Niños, La Niñas, all these weather patterns we have here. But basically, the last 2 days, there's been a tremendous amount of rain here. So yeah, I think that's probably going to be the case. So now, were you able to see a doctor or?
Well, I've been talking to people in the community, and a lot of people are trying to go to the doctor, and they're not doing the right kinds of tests. They don't actually have the tests to check for the heavy metals that the lithium-ion battery plant released, because this is a bit unprecedented to have something of this large of a scale with these type of chemicals in the environment. And so I've been trying to find a doctor that's actually going to do the heavy metal testing. I talked to somebody that said that they can do like a hair test, but you have to pay out of pocket for that. And I said, well, I don't have a lot of money at the moment. But I am looking for a doctor that's actually going to test. And some people are finally recently saying that, their doctors were coming in and looking up what the heavy metals are that we could have potentially been exposed to, but the usual ones are like lead, arsenic, and things like that. And
Right. Mercury, I think was, yeah. So not the ones that you would necessarily associate with this particular disaster.
Not the ones that we're concerned about. And then the EPA, the air testing too, they didn't do that air testing until, the second day of the fire. And so hydrogen fluoride, this is coming from my dad, I'm no genius myself, but he said that it can mix and it can go, it kind of spreads, and it interacts with water. So when the marine layer comes in, it will interact with it and it kind of spreads. And so the first day that this happened, it could have been a day that we had exposure to the hydrogen fluoride, because there's a lot of people that have strange rashes that look like chemical burns.
Right.
And so that is when it could have spread out before the EPA even came in on the second day to do the testing. And he said, and then it'll dissipate into the air, but it'll form into these certain kinds of salts that also are potentially toxic.
And what happens? Does the salt come down in the rain? Or
the salt will be like on surfaces and it'll be on stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it will, there's a short time because it will rise, but it mostly like it spreads. And then he said that it mixes with the water in the environment, and we have a heavy marine layer, and it'll be salts. You should interview him.
I know, should interview your dad. Sorry.
I'm trying to like remember all these technical things to tell you.
No, I mean, but it's good that you had access to that information that you could share with everybody, because there wasn't a lot of information coming out from either Vistra or the county officials, which obviously the county officials were caught off guard. They don't know what they're dealing with. They were told this was safe and that there were safety protocols in place at the facility, which is obviously not the case. Or if they were, I mean, are they saying they failed? I guess they did say that. But my thing is, and I think with, Supervisor Church is correct. Like, if your only plan of action is to let it burn, what, are you kidding me? That's not a safety plan. That's crazy.
If they didn't structure it right, there is no way to prevent like a fire from this other than letting it burn out. So if you didn't set this up and install this correctly, it's like, it's just a bomb waiting to go off. And I mean, there's no reason, unless they just wanted to save space, that I can think of about why they didn't section these off and why they didn't separate, these areas from each other to where the whole thing, 100,000 batteries aren't going to catch on fire.
Yeah, have a chain reaction. So you have kittens, they're 7 months old?
Yeah, 7-month-old kittens.
Were they experiencing any issues? You took them with you when you evacuated?
Yeah, my one cat, my white cat, he's like white and has little like tiger stripe things. He has been wheezing, breathing. You can hear like a wheezing thing. So he's been kind of wheezing and stuff like that. My other cat seems okay, but my white cat, he's been wheezing. And that's the thing about this kind of stuff, is that it affects everybody differently, and even with the smoke coming in, it's like you could live in the same city and the smoke just went a certain way, and then the landscape, that some people are going to be sick and some people aren't, which makes it so complicated. And even with my cats, like one of my cats has like been wheezing and just even seems congested, and and just since this happened, and then the other cat's okay. So it's just, it really impacts and affects people's health differently for just a complex variety of reasons. But there's been a lot of people that are healthy and that have had no issues beforehand, saying that they feel the fatigue, saying that their lungs were hurting. And then I know at that meeting in Castroville, they were saying, oh, well, some people might be sick from the smoke or something, or it's smoke damage. But it's like these people, and that had underlying conditions, and you might get, irritated from the smoke. And like, that's not what's going on. Do you think that's regular smoke coming out of that factory?
No, it's definitely not regular smoke.
And that healthy, normal people are sick that have literally no pre-existing conditions. And they're all saying that they weren't feeling well either. So I feel like their response to this and the health issues that so many people are having, and I know you've talked to so many people that have said that they're not feeling good here, has just been completely inadequate. And I'm glad that my dad was able to talk to the community too. And a lot of people said, oh, please thank your dad, because it's like they're scared and they don't know what to do.
Right.
They're like, can I go home? Like, I touched something and all of a sudden I have this like burn on my hand. What do I do? How do I treat this? How do you treat hydrogen fluoride exposure? I'm having this rash, and then he's telling me like what you can buy to put on
Right.
yourself to, help with these chemical burn rashes that people are having. And the health department is just basically
Yeah.
just trying to keep it under the rug. It's just
Yeah.
it's outrageous.
It is kind of outrageous. Yeah, we spoke with a gal the other day that you could see that they were starting to heal, but you could see there had been some blistering on both palms and red finger. Like it was clearly like some kind of weird burn.
Yeah, and then I was trying to, because my dad said something about hosing it off and waiting because some of the things in the tap water, but I even got like a
Oh,
weird
yeah.
little mark on my hand when I went out there to go pick up like the hose and stuff that was outside
Yeah.
before it
So
started raining.
he advised hosing everything down.
Yeah, it's just for the lithium or something. He
The
said that,
salty stuff.
yeah, he said
Okay.
for the lithium, there's something in tap water that over time will help to get rid of the lithium, but
Oh,
it's like a
that's good
slow
information.
process, I guess.
Okay.
And I don't know that it would work with the other ones because he was just talking about lithium, but he said to like hose down like the area. So hopefully maybe the rain will help too. I'm not sure the difference between the tap water, but he said there's, certain things that are in the tap water that will help do that. And he said if you have had a lithium exposure, he said to eat a lot of salty food because your body treats it as a salt, it'll get rid of it, but it's very slow, but it'll help to kind of
Interesting.
get rid of some of the, the toxins over time if you eat a little bit more salty foods and things like that. So, yeah, he's just been, he's been really helpful to me because I'm scared and nobody's getting any help out here. Even the county won't provide services. Our local news station, KSBW, has just really done a very poor job of reporting on here and talking about the people that are sick and having symptoms. They weren't saying anything about people that were sick. Even other news stations were picking it up and talking to the residents. So they didn't say that anybody was sick out here for a long time. And I don't know if somebody over there has stock in Vistra or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible.
But they had posted in our community page of the people that are sick, and it really says Moss Landing symptoms. And they said, and so Vistra wanted to give everybody, I think it was like $650, $750.
And well, here's the thing: it was a $750 gift card. You had to go for the first 2 days to collect it. So, I mean, a lot of the people that evacuated weren't back 2 days later. So, it was supposed to pay for their evacuation. But if you weren't there the first days to collect it, you missed out.
Wow.
And they cut it off within, I can't remember, 1 or 2 mile radius from where it happened. So there were all of these, strings attached to these gift cards, these $750 gift cards.
That's terrible.
I don't know that it was much help, to be frank.
Yeah, that's awful. So, and then when they first released the information about the gift card, KSBW went in there and they said, "Hey, can you tell us how Vistra's giving out this gift card? And can we want to talk to somebody and talk about how this is going to be beneficial to you?" So it's like they were donating to do a puff piece on Vistra. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like, what the heck? It blows your mind that
here? Yeah.
you're our local news. You should be the ones like out here really getting the news out. And you're telling us, tell us how happy you are getting Vistra's, card, and we want to talk to you. And I was just like, wow, like much worse can it get? Even the San Francisco Chronicle today said, hey, a lot of people are saying they're sick from this fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it just makes logical sense when 100,000 batteries burn up in the air that
With
people are not going to be.
Yeah. There's no way that this is healthy. That's just a ridiculous, Yeah, I agree with you. So what are next steps for you, Jody? Are you part of the Never Again Moss Landing group? What do you got?
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on everything going forward?
Yeah, I'm in the group. I was really proud of everybody that just, did a grassroots effort to collect all of the samples all over the area. People have really seen a real strong sense of community here. And I'm in that community page, every day reading about updates and reading about what's going on. And, people are asking, like, I'm scared to buy the produce here, where can I get stuff? And that's the same with me. Like, I've started ordering food from like other countries and stuff because
canned food, tomatoes, whatever. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's out of the country. And so people are asking, where can I buy produce at? Because, where is it safe? Like, how far away would be safe to buy produce? Or what are some other websites or some other, farms we could maybe get some of our produce at, because, and it sucks not eating produce. Like, you don't realize till it's gone, like, that you're like, I've been trying to eat tropical fruits and things like that and things. that aren't grown in California, but you miss eating like salads and
Yeah.
like, greens and stuff. And it just like, you don't feel good when you're not eating like
Right.
produce and you're trying to figure out. And I've been, trying to look up what farms deliver here. And there really isn't any, even nationwide farm deliveries work with local farmers. So it's like
Right.
I haven't, found much that will deliver. I'm still kind of searching, but we're sharing all of that information in the group. And, the communities just really came together and supported each other. And whatever information, we're kind of on our own. So whatever information we've been able to share with each other, we have. And so it's been kind of out of this amazing to see the sense of community from everybody here coming together and going to the meetings and speaking out about this. And, everybody's been doing an amazing job of that. And, telling them you need to take this seriously. We're sick. We're not doing well. And, banding together. So that's been really, at least not nice to see. I wish it wasn't happening, but it's nice to see the community doing
Unifying, yeah. So
Yeah.
everybody has a unified voice against this not being okay, which makes sense because your environment, your health we're all tied together on this, right? It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, what race you are, what your political beliefs are, like none of that matters because health and environment affect all of us equally. Do you have any parting thoughts?
I just want people to know that, that it's not being covered, and we're really grateful to Status Coup for covering this, for coming out here. I mean, they were here from day one. I know everybody in the community, that I've talked to has expressed like gratitude for you guys. But I just want people to, I guess, take this seriously. And so many people still haven't heard about it. And I know it's starting to get picked up, but our whole food, our whole world, our oceans over here where we get
Yeah.
fish from has been affected. Our residents here are sick. And the more people that know about this and the more pressure that we get on some of these organizations to take it seriously, the more help that we're going to get. And so that's why what you guys are doing is so important. And yeah, so yeah, just
Well, we hope to be part of the solution, definitely.
Yeah, so just
And a lot of local reporting is disappearing in the country because corporate conglomerates and the media have bought up the local stations and they're just not focused on like literally the local media anymore, even though they're local. It's just tragic. And speaking of, let me just say this: like, if you're not a member of Status Coup, it's perfect time for me to pitch this, right? Join Status Coup as a membership because your $5 a month is what enables us to come out and do these stories. To pay for the airfare, hotels, whatever else. And we definitely want to, keep doing this stuff. We're in this for the long haul. So, Jody, thank you for talking with us. Appreciate you. We will definitely be following up with you and see what else is going on. We're going to definitely stay on this story. The community swabbing, the results came out today. So we're still waiting to hear the news on that, the analysis on that. But we're going to definitely keep covering this.
Yeah, thank you so much.